Okay, let's go ahead and begin.
Good afternoon and welcome to ChamberRVA's Virtual Education Forum, Equity and Opportunity in Education. This is the fifth of our five-part series. Today's session is entitled Alternative Routes to Enter the Workforce. I'm Brian Anderson, President and CEO of ChamberRVA. We thank you for joining us for this important conversation. We've had four really wonderful sessions with great participation, great dialogue, and information provided by our different panelists. We know today's will be no different. This series is brought to us by Dominion Energy, our presenting sponsor. Our gold sponsors for the series are Altria, Capital One, and Virginia 529, and our silver sponsor is Facebook. So today, bringing comments from Dominion Energy is Bill Murray. Bill is the Senior Vice President for Corporate Affairs and Communication at Dominion Energy. Welcome, Bill. We look forward to your comments.
All right, assuming I have correctly unmuted myself, thank you, everybody. Can everybody hear okay?
Yes, sir.
That's the new way we've learned to start all of our meetings, right? It's a new social norm. I do sound check. I'll simply make 2 points, and then I will yield back to the very good panel you have for today, because that's really why you're all on here. Societally, and particularly in corporate America, we missed an opportunity during the last economic downturn. No need for show of hands or amens, but just mentally think, did you maybe let the foot off the gas on workforce development during the Great Recession because your HR people would get overwhelmed? You'd put up a job ad online for a day, you get overwhelmed with applicants, and it felt so easy, and it felt like, why am I worried about workforce? I will even bet there's some companies on here who did some targeted cost savings in their workforce operations, thinking that job applicants will be plentiful forever. If you look at the U.S. versus our key economic competitors, if you look at Virginia versus our key economic competitors, among other states, we're outnumbered. We're not the big dog in terms of numbers of folks. China, India both outnumber us in a factor of 3 to 1, and Virginia competing with Georgia or North Carolina or Texas. What all those states have in common, they're all much bigger states. North Carolina is a little bigger, Georgia is significantly bigger, Texas dramatically bigger, Florida dramatically bigger. We need all hands on deck. So that's the first thing, is to not let up on our workforce development efforts, because short term, it seems like employees are plentiful. Made that mistake a generation ago. I don't want to make it again. And the second, and this really is why today's program is, I think, so meaningful. We have had a little bit of a tendency to tell people it's too late in education. And a lot of this messaging comes around a very well-intended effort to get kids to take some advanced math classes or even algebra earlier in life. And we sort of set a societal message that if you haven't taken algebra by age X, forget about being an engineer or a scientist or whatever it might be. Or if a child's not reading on grade level at age 3, at third grade, then, really, that's a bad fact. It's something you want to attend to. If you drop out of high school, your life is over. If you don't finish your college degree. And all of those are challenges. And I'm in no way trying to sugarcoat those challenges. But I think we send the wrong message, because the reality is all of us who are a little older on this call will reflect it's never too late. This is a great country because there are lots of second acts in American life. Gertrude Stein was absolutely wrong. There are plenty of second and third and fourth acts in American life. That's what makes us such a great country. So to the extent we send sort of gatekeeper type messages in our workforce development system or education system, that if you don't do X by Y date, it's too late, that's the wrong message. And it's also got the disadvantage of being demonstrably false. It is never too late. So we should not let our zeal to have young people have educational experiences early on. We should never let that cloud the overall message that it's never too late. There's always an opportunity to start over again. I like working out. Bill Pearl, great exercise guru, once said, if you quit going to the gym for a while, no big deal. It's actually a positive fact. It means your muscles have all healed. You're feeling better. It's never too late to start again. And I think that's a good attitude towards exercise, and it's a great attitude towards workforce development. And with that, I will yield back to your panel and thank all of you for joining.
Well, Bill, thank you for those comments. And we couldn't have scripted you better. That's exactly what the kind of comments we needed as far as introducing and leading in today's panel. And we just appreciate everything that Dominion Energy does. And like your four predecessors for the last four sessions have done, you set the stage well for today's conversation. So thank you very much. So it's my privilege right now to introduce our panelists, including our moderator, for this conversation. I will do so quickly so we can make sure we use the time for them and for you to be able to answer questions of this great panel. First, Elizabeth Creamer is with us today. Elizabeth is the Vice President for Workforce Development and Credential Attainment for the Community College Workforce Alliance. The Community College Workforce Alliance is a partnership of Reynolds and John Tyler Community Colleges. Elizabeth has previously served as Workforce Advisor for Governors Terry McAuliffe and Bob McDonald, and in the community college leadership positions throughout the Commonwealth. Welcome, Elizabeth. Glad to have you with us. Our second panelist is Ghislaine St. Jude. Ghislaine is joined the Year Up team as the Executive Director of the National Capital Region in September of 2015. And as of April 2020, she serves as the Managing Director, Employer of Influence Strategy, and where she focuses on the design, execution, and implementation of Year Up's new strategic plan. Prior to joining Year Up, Guy served as the Business Banking Virginia Marketing Executive at Capital One, where she led the development of a new startup region. She counts 3 decades of experience in the financial services industry in senior and executive roles. Ghislaine holds an associate's degree from Northern Virginia Community College, bachelor's degree from George Mason, graduate degree in retail banking from University of Virginia, and also holds senior HR and association certifications. Welcome to you, Ghislaine. We look forward to hearing from you. And our moderator today is also one of our sponsors for the series. Virginia 529 is a gold sponsor, and we appreciate their support of not only this series, but all that they do in helping families and the children reach their college goals. Mary G. Morris is the Chief Executive Officer of Virginia 529, which is the largest tax-advantaged education savings program in the country, with its Direct Invest 529 and Advisor College America programs. She earned her Juris Doctorate and Master of Law in Taxation from the Marshall White School of Law at the College of William & Mary, and she's active in both national 529 organizations, College Savings Foundation, and where she's also a former board chair and member of the Media Committee. So welcome to you, Mary, and thank you for being a part of this full forum that we've had for the last 5 weeks. And we thank all of you for participating, and I know that our panel is going to do just like we expect in bringing us exactly the kind of information we need to hear. And we want you to have a dialogue, so be thinking about your questions you'd like to ask Elizabeth and Ghislaine. So welcome. So we're starting with Elizabeth.
Thank you very much. I have to thank Mr. Murray. Those remarks were inspirational. And as the Vice President of the Workforce Development Division of John Tyler and Reynolds Community College, I was especially moved by them because our average job seeker that we're serving is 36 years old. So we're dealing with individuals, by and large, who are looking for second or third chances. And some of my favorite stories are those individuals who move from a single workforce credential class, a class of a couple of weeks, to perhaps an associate degree, taken one course at a time while they work full-time, maybe taken through an apprenticeship with one of our regional companies, and then on to their baccalaureate. Our programs work to get people into work on their own, but they also plug into higher level credentials. And that's really the model of workforce development that we're trying to drive. Second and third acts, certainly. Our work has never been more important than it is now. The latest unemployment data for the greater Richmond region shows that 139,957 residents of our region, again, that's almost 140,000 residents of our region have applied since COVID-19 really hit in March 2020. And probably to no one's surprise on this webinar, most of those claimants are women, people of color, and low-income residents of our region. Those are the job seekers that Community College Workforce Alliance, CCWA is how I'll reference our organization through the rest of this presentation. They're the job seekers who are coming to us in the greatest numbers. Next slide, please. We serve Central Virginia. I've already talked about that. Many of the localities in the Central Virginia region, all of the greater Richmond Partnership and more. Next slide. This is a slide which many of you may have seen. It's pre-COVID, so it's outdated, but it certainly presents some stark data as to the inequities in our region. And in many ways, that's what workforce development, the alternative path to success, the path for those who are not perhaps best served or not able to do what many of us on this call did and go from high school to community college or university. This chart shows why workforce development is an important vehicle for success and the inequities that we're facing. The difference in household income, for instance, between Western Henrico and North Henrico, where average family income may be $26,999 a year as compared to over $200,000. The difference in life expectancy and health, the difference in home ownership, the difference in broadband and technology access, which of course is critical to success and educational attainment at this juncture in our region's history. Next slide. And so workforce is particularly determined now, and the two colleges that I serve, Reynolds and John Tyler, are particularly targeted to trying to address some of those inequities by providing viable routes to success, truly viable routes to success for those neighborhoods and those residents who have struggled with multi-generational poverty, are looking for a way not to realize their second or third act perhaps, but for the first time to attain living and family sustaining wages. And we begin by changing perhaps the definition of education and workforce development, getting away from semester-based scheduling, getting away from scheduling that's predicated upon the availability of 18 to 21-year-olds, and instead thinking about working adults who are hardworking but underemployed, perhaps caught in a cycle of minimum wage jobs. What are the schedules? What are the programs they need? So in workforce development, you see more short-term programs where individuals who have not been successful to date in education can take can take a bite at education and training and at upward mobility in terms that are 4 to 12 weeks. Lots of on-ramps and off-ramps. I liked what Mr. Murray said about stepping out of education and workforce development and stepping back in without any penalty for so doing. So we have sequential certifications. In HVAC, for instance, you can get a job with a level 1 certification in HVAC, but if you want to participate in a registered apprenticeship, the opportunity is also there for you to get level 2, level 3, level 4 to obtain a journeyman's credential and even an associate degree as you progress through these certifications. In, out, lifelong learning, that's what workforce development now is about. Stackable credentials, because we're housed in community colleges, work closely with academic faculty. We are constantly trying to articulate or convert to college credits the non-credit, informal industry certification, state licensure work that we're doing in the workforce development divisions. And we will continue to do that as, again, a viable and affordable means for working adults, for single parents, for military service members transitioning to civilian employment, and for high school graduates who are just not disposed, are not able to afford a 4-year university right out of high school, ways for them to attain first a credential for the workplace and then perhaps a degree. We do a lot of work-based learning, on-the-job training, registered apprenticeships, clinicals, student teaching, virtual internships beginning this summer. All of these are important to keep our students engaged and keep our eye on the bottom line, which is we are about jobs and improved wages, not credential itself, but the credential as a stepping stone to that first job that has a future. Wraparound support services are important, career coaching, connections to community-based agencies that can provide transportation, childcare, life management, and other services, financial literacy, and the list goes on. And our measures of success, the impact on wages and jobs, and our ability to fill skills gap for key industries in the region that even in a COVID environment, even with unemployment numbers at the levels they are, still are realizing a shortage of skilled entry-level workers to go into key technician, technologist, and trades positions. Next slide. These are some of the industries we're working with, the same ones that have been prioritized by many economic development entities around the region: transportation, healthcare, manufacturing, customer service, trades and construction, logistics, and CCWA is actively working to ramp up our capacity to offer credentialing and IT. Next slide. The state of Virginia took a big step forward in providing alternate and very effective short-term pathways to success for unemployed and underemployed Virginians when in 2016 it passed the Fast Forward Workforce Credential legislation and accompanying state budget that for the first time provides financial assistance to all Virginians who want to go into programs that have been verified to meet the needs of industry, to help fill critical workforce gaps in certain key industries and occupations. And in CCWA, this is a list: healthcare occupations, manufacturing, logistics, supply chain and warehousing positions. Next slide. Commercial driver's license, our single largest program. We run truck driving training courses every weekend, every weekday, every day of the year except Christmas and Thanksgiving. We're out training truck drivers. The classes are always full. There's always a wait list, and the demand continues because we move them from graduation, credential to job. The demand is still that high. Manufacturing, a whole host of trades programs. We have quite a number of employers who continue to ask us for more help in developing a talent pipeline into the skilled trades. And we continue to add fast forward certification programs. If we can get industry to attest that they need to make hires, we can stand up programs and thereby afford all Virginians a dramatically reduced tuition rate and afford those Virginians with financial need absolutely free tuition to include supplies, tools, etc. Next slide. Understanding the success of the Fast Forward Workforce Credential Program, which has seen the average graduate realize a 25 to 50% increase in wages 1 year post-graduation from the program. A coalition of some of Virginia's major employers have just very recently launched Virginia Ready, which was kicked off August 1st of this year. It's a nonprofit organization that is seeking to assist Virginia's newly unemployed, those residents of the Commonwealth and this region that have had their jobs and lives disrupted by COVID-19. You need not be eligible for unemployment insurance. Anyone who is unemployed and seeks to enter one of the fast forward occupations works with a community college, enrolls in a fast forward program, and earns a certification will, upon receipt of that certification, receive a $1,000 award and opportunities to interview at participating companies. That is the sort of public-private partnership that Workforce Credential is starting to realize, and all of it is intended to get people back to work as soon as possible. Next slide. Sector strategies. We have, for instance, coalition of manufacturers who come together with CCWA, determine what attributes and criteria they want students in our manufacturing technician certification program to attain during the program. And then if the students meet those criteria, as a coalition, those employers have agreed that they will guarantee them an interview. Next slide. And we're trying to drive that model across all sectors. Next slide. Registered apprenticeships. Our workforce development programs, including certifications, can be part of a registered apprenticeship with the region's employers, or they have been used by some of our employers as pre-apprenticeship training. If a student earns a certification, they qualify for the apprenticeship, but they have to show that they have the interest and aptitude for the job by first earning those credentials with us. That's a win-win for the employee, potential employee, and for the employer. Next slide. And we work with community-based partnerships. Most recently, we have been working with the Better Housing Coalition. We pulled together a catalog that includes both academic programs at Reynolds Community College and workforce development and credential programs at Community College Workforce Alliance. All of these programs, at the request of the Better Housing Coalition, are either available online or they're a hybrid, partially online, partially in person, because some of our programming, like healthcare and truck driving, has to have a hands-on component. But these programs were designed to make it possible for those residents of Better Housing Coalition communities to go back to school now. Even in the midst of COVID and even having children at home engaged in virtual learning, they're able to continue their own learning through the programs that were curated and specifically selected for this particular community-based partnership. And we can do that. We're teaching in high schools. We're teaching in workforce development centers. We're teaching in public housing projects. And there's no end to the places we can teach. The schedule will keep, because we're very aware that this is our time to do a heroic job in terms of service to Greater Richmond. Next slide. We're just about to release our catalog of classes, skills development, credentials that are scheduled for fall, and we're always adding to that. Next slide. And this is my contact information. I want to end by saying workforce development is intended to be the entrepreneurial, flexible, versatile, and rapid response to employers' workforce needs. I am delighted to be working with the ChamberRVA and other partners such as United Way, the Capital Region Workforce Partnership, and others on a regional workforce coalition, which is striving to find more effective and efficient workforce solutions for employers and job seekers by collaborating ever more closely than we have before. It's been an honor to present, and it's a special honor to go before my good friend and colleague, Ghislaine, who has worked with this region and with faculty at Reynolds Community College on looking at the possibility of a year up in Richmond. Guy's model, what she has led, is an extraordinary example of workforce development at its very finest. And I think an exemplary example of what we need to do in this region moving forward. Thank you.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for your kindness. It's always so much fun to share a screen or a table or a panel with you. And so thank you very, very much for all the great information that you've shared. Hello, everybody. Like Elizabeth, I was incredibly inspired by what Bill had to share originally. And so I will start my remarks. You'll see on your slide that, the different arms of Year Up. There's Year Up, there's Grabs of Life, and then there's UPRO, and I'll walk you all through a little bit about what each of them means. But, oh, hi, Paula. Thank you for saying hello. It's good to see you. And so I just want to just broaden the perspective and say a little bit, like we're talking about the reasons why we do what we do. And I think it's really, really critical and important that we talk about why employers should care, why that matters, why it is that the work that we do matters. And I do want to say that we did a research paper. If anybody has an interest in finding the paper, please contact me and I will be happy to share it with you. But it is a research document that was led by our think tank, Grads of Life, who then partnered with Accenture and Harvard Business School. And what they found is that organizations that take a dab at dismantling, as Bill shared, this idea of 4-year degree required for entry-level to mid-level skills job, on average are able to save 31%, a third of their capital expenditure cost. And so I hope that for every employer that is listening to this, your eyes sort of perk up. You just sort of said, maybe I should be interested in this, because it matters. It matters what we're doing as the Business Roundtable has redefined why businesses exist to include all of its stakeholders, not just for the shareholders. There's a societal impact to what we're trying to do, as Elizabeth shared with you all a few slides away about the disparity, the economic the prosperity indexes, et cetera, that are plaguing large swath of our American population. I do think that it's always good to know that for businesses, there is an absolute why, which is by working with Elizabeth and hopefully by working with Year Up, you are realizing savings in the tune of reducing the cost of capital expenditure by a full third. And so what we are, as you can see, I don't want to read the slides to you, is that what we do is we are expert 20 years of working with organizations to identify strategic sources of entry-level and mid-level skill talent. We do so by partnering with our great friends at Reynolds Community College, Northern Virginia Community College, and plenty others around the country. And first, by identifying the needs that organizations need, and then we take care of the sourcing and the training and the development and the placement of people, so that, it becomes a win-win situation. Then want to talk a little bit about, at Year Up, you'll hear often we talk about the opportunity divide. The opportunity divide for us means that even post-COVID, and we're expecting that post-COVID the numbers are going to get worse, you've got about 5 million young people, 18 to 24. I want to frame this, 5 million young people, 18 to 24, who are completely disconnected by no fault of their own, except it's important for me to say, because to honor the work that we do, that I say that it's by no fault of their own. So often I talk on those panels and people say, well, why don't they go to school? Why don't they do? And I do want to call out that the systems that have sort of like eliminated groups of people from what we will call mainstream opportunities so that they can reach their version of the American dream is real. If you don't believe me, go look at the data, delve deeper into the data that Elizabeth has shared at one of her slides, and to look at what happens depending on the zip code where people are born and raised, and then their chances for upward mobility. And the disparate part of it is that even post-COVID, there are 12 million jobs in the United States that will remain unfilled because of that need for talent. I know that the book, The War for Talent, was written way back when I was cutting my teeth at middle management, but I want to say that it is still real, finding people with the right skills. I know that in Virginia alone, there were 176,000 entry-level to mid-level fiber roles that were left, unanswered. And we've been proven that we're able to get young people in less than a year to achieve CYSA certification, Amazon AWS certification, other key skills that allows them to compete and compete well at organizations that are supporting this panel today, such as Dominion and Capital One. And so we know we have a proven track record to doing it. So we're not, leaving, sort of like telling you something that we haven't done, but it is for real that we've been proven to do this. I'm just showing really quickly, don't want to read, that we've worked with recognized organizations. Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, is a big fan of ours, as are our friends at Capital One. And I know that we've also had the opportunity to work with Dominion, and we've received nothing but great feedback. Sam, can we go? So the work of Year Up as a brand expands across 3 groupings of work. One, it's talent strategy. Want to partner with companies and organizations to figure out, like, when you're posting your jobs, are there certain words that are preventing what we call opportunity talent to apply? What is the pathway to help these people advance? When is, do you really need to have, can you do short-term work, like sort of in demand and then move people along a continuum? Should we do sort of like longer-term contracts, with longer-term placement based on achievement? Is an apprenticeship, like, what does that look like in terms of talent strategy? So I find myself closely working with CHROs and CDOs in terms of defining that and figuring out ways that we can make opportunity talent at the core of companies' recruitment effort, sourcing effort, promotion effort, et cetera. We talk about the talent in demand, which is our UPro arm, which we place people, and we do what we call last mile training. We're currently working with a couple of companies that, need a particular skill set. And so we're taking people, we're doing particular training for them and placing them in these companies. So we're really placing people. So we do that well too. And then of course, it's talent development, which is sort of like our core of a bailiwick. We love partnering with our friends at Reynolds, our friends at Northern Virginia Community College, to do dual training, if you would, is what we do. We train on technical skills, and then we train on the skills that partners are also telling us are critical to the success of their organizations, which is what we'll call professional skills, which are teamwork, demonstrating grit, problem solving, critical thinking skills. And I think the book, for those of you who are aware of the title of the book, you don't teach corporate in college. This is not me saying it. It's actually the title of a book. And so all these things that, we hear, employees entering the workforce without having sort of like that muscle well exercised, and that's part of our expertise. I wanted to share with this group a bit of the principles that we have developed and how we have codified them to help organizations really set up a strategy that is supportive of opportunity talent, to really help recruit and hire opportunity talent, and then to also do the retention and the advancement and the promotion of opportunity talent. So I have found new words. I was, sort of practicing them, with Elizabeth, and she was always so kind to be supportive. I always say that Elizabeth and I are in the business of economic opportunity, economic stability, and then economic mobility. I think that we don't solve these problems unless we serve on the continuum of them, because it serves no one, and it does no one any good, if you would allow me, that programmer, to get somebody in a job and then 4 or 5 years they're still in the same job because there's not been a clear pathway and continued investment in that talent. And here's what we found. We're working with 49% of Fortune 500 companies across the country. What we have found is that people who invest in those methodologies with us, that work with Reynolds and Elizabeth and Nova and us to deliver that talent, they're finding that the retention of people in roles and with the company is 2.5x times higher. Yes, 2.5x times higher. So you're starting, for those of you who said 31% savings, where does that come from? Well, here's how it comes from, is on the retention of people, because they're seeing a lesser attrition of people that come through that pathway, if you would, in terms of their commitment, their loyalty to the organization, the likelihood that they'll jump for an extra $5-6 per hour, but that they're going to stay because of your investment in them and staying with them and, the commitment to their learning. Sam, if you don't mind going to the next slide, please. Thank you so much. And so I won't go into this, but this is giving you a little bit more of the detail around those of you who are the researchers in the room about how we do this, and happy to delve into it deeper if anybody would like to meet one-on-one. And then I wanted to share with you all some of the companies that are well-known brand names that we work with. I'm sure you can see my friends at Capital One after 5, I just tell everybody that everybody deserves to be an alum of Capital One after having worked with them for 5 years. The incredible support for me as an executive and for the mission of this work has been nothing short of extraordinary. And so we are really grateful for all that they're doing to help make the world a more just world. And then finally, I will open up to question. I know that as we're faced with this social movement, a lot of people are trying to learn. And one of my favorite writer is James Baldwin. And one of my favorite quotes that I always tell people is, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. And so I will open up to say that it is my firm belief that every day we have a chance to change the world. Because every time you allow somebody to light the wick of their own candle at the light of your own candle, it does not diminish your light. It actually spreads it. It lights up the world better. It makes it a more just world for all. And together we win by really realizing the ideals of this great America. Thank you for having me. I look so forward to your questions and for having robust dialogue.
Thank you, both of you. That was terrific. It's so interesting. This is an area that I've been diving into more and more for the recent years. I was just talking to Ted Raspiller from Tyler today and telling him I really, truly believe that the community colleges and programs like yours and that intersection, Ghislaine, are the future of education in this country. It's the energy, the infrastructure, and just that flexibility, that adaptability that I think is just so important. So I had different questions, and we're going to wait. Please, folks, send them in, and would love to hear questions from the audience as well. But I have some teed up already. In one, it's similar, I guess, a little bit for both of you. I had this one initially for you, Elizabeth, but I'll offer it up to you both, because I was really wondering how students and potential students are finding you and your program. Sort of what's their pathway there? How are you reaching out to students to get them into some of the programs like a Fast Forward program, and what more can be done, folks like us at Virginia 529, for visibility and outreach?
That's it. Do you want me to start?
Yeah. Why don't you start, and then, similar question, sort of how do you recruit and identify students? Ghislaine, both of you, but go ahead and start, Elizabeth.
I would say that one very successful method of recruiting is increasingly we are working with some employers through our sector strategies. Employers oftentimes will have applicants who are not qualified, just woefully unqualified for an entry-level job. Sometimes the employers are, because we've been working with an employer on a particular sector strategy, they know we have some bench strength, they're referring them back to us because they know that there is free training available in that field. You see that in manufacturing and logistics, supply chain, some of the areas that really do have specialized, strong workforce signals. We also, and this is probably a larger source, we also work with a good many community-based or government organizations. We're the largest training provider, for example, for the City of Richmond's Office of Community Wealth Building. And we're very appreciative. We have a strong years-long partnership whereby we're doing a lot of workforce training and credentialing for the participants, the job seekers that they're serving from the City of Richmond. We work with 2 workforce investment boards. We've worked with Goodwill. I mentioned United Way. We work with school divisions and stand-up high school certification boot camps, and the school divisions, counselors, and teachers are recruiting the participants in those programs. We've worked with career advisors at Fort Lee to help recruit and train transitioning service members. We're working with departments of social services to stand up programs for single parents who are on public assistance and looking for a means to get off that public assistance and find a living wage job. And I'll stop there and give Dee an opportunity. It's a long way from handing out. It's a long way from handing out pamphlets. It's all about partnerships.
So check, as we say here, check Elizabeth, and check for us means everything that Elizabeth said, and we're embedded in all the school systems and, around. We partner as well, and we work with the foster, it's really, it's a topic for a different conversation, but what's happening in our foster care system. And so we work we see lots and lots of young people coming from foster care. We see lots of emancipated youth. So work with, sort of like housing and so on. We are in the community centers. We are also partnering with the court system. I will say, just for full disclosure and transparency, that we do not serve people who have violent felonies. However, as I like to say, we see a lot of our young people with the dings and the dongs, of having in and out of the justice system over little things, just for chuckles. I hope you all will allow me. I'm a firm believer that humor is a good, we all need a good dose of humor. But I always say to them, particularly in Northern Virginia, that what's legal in D.C. is not so in Virginia, so don't be bringing it across the border. I don't care how much of it is. And so, we see, young people getting in trouble over those kinds of things. And so we work very closely with the court system, to make sure that, they, as Bill said, that everybody, this is the ideal of our country, right? That people can always begin anew. The hope that, this country is built on, and so that nothing is, that few things, I should say nothing, that few things are completely life altering. And so, we're trying to, I tell people I'm in the transportation business, I'm in the poverty alleviation business, I'm in the housing business, I'm in the education business, you name it, and we've got deep partnerships and deep pipeline in all of those systems.
That's so fascinating. So I guess for both of you too, but I'll start with you, Elizabeth. I'll toss it back. I'm a little bit familiar with the Fast Forward program. I know the basic premise of that is that most of the students will have sort of some skin in the game, I guess. They cover the first third, and then there is state money to cover the final 2/3. When they complete the certificate, a third of it is covered by the state, and then when they actually pass the test or get the credential. So what does that participation look like? How do you qualify for that program? And I think you said that in some instances, it can be at no cost to the student. So how does one get into that sort of pipeline to success in these programs at a cost or for free that they can afford?
Our career coaches and student-facing personnel, everybody is trained in Fast Forward at CCWA. Everybody's trained in how to help a student fill out an application. The Fast Forward process is very, very simple. And any of us, we're doing it over the phone. We're still seeing students in person because we're still out in the community, accessible through our campus locations. But any domiciled Virginian, any resident of Virginia can participate in a Fast Forward program. And we've also had companies, we've had small businesses and large businesses that have used Fast Forward to help their entry-level workforce, their new workers to upskill and to gain credentials. We have had that phenomenon occur too, which the program allows. So, Fast Forward's easy. Now, when somebody comes and has and their finances are such, their level of financial need is such that they can't even stand up the 1/3. Fortunately, the community college system has made available funds to allow us to provide need-based financial aid, which that was a real change in Virginia's thinking, that we would start to fiscally support tuition for students with financial need that might want to be HVAC technicians or electricians, truck drivers, or clinical medical assistants, that those occupations needed to be financially supported just like we support history or theater or business majors.
Excellent, because again, right now, at least, those credential programs don't qualify for Pell Grants, right? So there's a disconnect there.
They do not qualify for grants. That's correct.
Yeah, so they need to find an opportunity. So to participate,
and that is a gap. That is a gap. There's not anyone, I think, who has worked in this field doesn't wish that was different.
So I wanted to point it out. I know there are lots of things that might happen with Pell Grants. There's some things that are easy, right, that you could just got to get folks to do it, and sometimes tackle the easier things, the littler things. So the same kind of question.
Mary, for us, I would say that our program is totally free.
Okay.
In fact, we pay our participants a stipend, both during the learning and development phase and during their internship phase, and multiple ways of wraparound support that we provide. And through working with the community college system, as I said, as Reynolds, and want to give a big shout out to my good friend, the president of Reynolds, who is joining us, Dr. Paula Pendo, who I believe is extraordinary. I tell everybody that you guys got so lucky to get her. She's extraordinary, in my book at least. And so, and with Nova, another great leader there with Ken Kress, that we work together and we leverage the resources of the college, and where, for whatever reason, Pell Grant doesn't work and the college doesn't have resources, we actually pay for the tuition for young people. And so, the difference, I think, between what Elizabeth and what we do also is that we focus on 18 to 26. Beyond 26, we sort of empower others through others to deliver programming. And so we've gotten really creative on some of the things we've been able to accomplish. And so I just wanted to share with folks that if somebody is interested, it's actually at no expense to them.
That's terrific. A little bit like an apprenticeship program, but not are any of your formal apprenticeship programs, or are you in sort of that hybrid apprenticeship mode?
I like that word, Mary. I'll borrow it from you. It's sort of like a hybrid. It's a hybrid something because we've got so many different models that we are exploring, to deliver, critical training to young people, and quite frankly, by serving industries, because what our partners are telling us is, our talent is extraordinary. What we do together with Reynolds or with Nova, we do together, and it's more resilient, it's better prepared, it stays longer, it reduces costs for industry. I want to keep on saying this as a business leader, it reduces costs for industry. It is not going to cost anybody more money. And so at the end of the day, we find creative way to deliver, creative ways, to deliver programming. I will say that unfortunately, because of COVID, I'll highlight an example. I think Elizabeth talked about high school. Unfortunately, we were not able to execute on the vision, but Elizabeth, Dr. Pendo, myself, and then, key executive at GE, I won't say her name, though I would love to, just because we didn't get permission to do that. But at GE, I want to give them a big shout out. We had orchestrated and designed a program to get young people that are rising 12th graders or just recently graduated to come and do a version of a year up at Reynolds, so that, they could go into potentially internships and work at GE. Unfortunately, again, we were not able to deliver on that vision. And, we're certainly hopeful that once we get a better sense of how long we're going to be in this, I know Dr. Pendo is chomping at the bits, and so is Elizabeth, and so are our friends at GE, to make it happen. And so we're committed to Richmond, and we're committing to finding ways with organizations to partner to deliver outstanding talent.
So I think it was one of the questions that came up in chat, and I think you've addressed it in part there, but would you broadly say any of your programs available to high school age students, and then again at the community college level, Elizabeth, with those, obviously a lot of people are getting dual enrollment credits. Are some of these credentials and these types of programs available for high school students as well?
We've started piloting high school certification boot camps, and in some cases we have even had signing days. The high schools like signing days whereby upon earning your certification, you get an interview, and we've actually signed a few high school seniors up for jobs dependent upon them turning 18. The ones that weren't 18, the businesses wanted them to be 18, so they have jobs as soon as they turn 18. We do have more challenges with the high school certification programs because Fast Forward only covers those who have left high school. So we have had to work we've had to work hard to generate other philanthropic funding or other sources of funding to cover those. But so far, we've launched programs in about 5 school divisions in the Greater Richmond region, and we had one set with Richmond Public Schools, but COVID disrupted that as well. But as with Year Up, we will return and readdress that need. The city was very excited about that, and we were too.
Yeah, I was going to say, COVID will pass. We will get back to something that seems more like normal sometime in the hopefully not too distant future.
Yeah, Mary, new normal. I tell people all the time, I think all of us can remember the days when we could just walk up to an airport, walk our loved ones all the way to the, the door of the plane and so on. And so I remain optimistic that, yes, COVID will pass and we will find a new normal.
Right. We'll get used to whatever we have to get used to.
We're only limited by our capacity to develop the industry partnerships because it's very important to us. It is very important to us to know absolutely not just what industries, but literally what companies we're sending students to.
Yeah.
So we have to work that all the time.
Yeah. One of the things I've always been impressed with is that the community colleges do work so closely with industries in their area. So you are developing that pipeline for what businesses need. I wanted to ask, and we need to wrap up pretty quickly, but I wanted to ask you, Ghislaine, how does a business partner with Year Up? And that has to provide some of your resources, I would assume, as well. So I want to give an opportunity for folks to hear about that and think about participating. But what does that commitment look like in terms of financial and as well as sort of partnering and giving you the opportunity for internships and working with your students?
So thank you for that question, Mary. This is the one we pay people to ask. So thank you very much. I think that the key is there's not a specific financial commitment because it's tailored. It is customized for what that business is looking for. And so the best way to do it is I'm going to find, the all button here, and I'm going to put my email information and, so if anybody, I was not as wise as Elizabeth Creamer, not as skilled as her to put my contact information on my slide deck. Bummer. I was too focused on James Baldwin. So I'm going to put that in there. So if anybody wants to contact me, that would be fabulous. Would love to have a conversation. We spend time understanding your platform, your business needs, et cetera. And then, from there we go and design specifically for what you're trying to accomplish. And so thank you for that question again. And I look so forward to hearing from many of you.
And I'm sure that the Chamber will make sure that folks can find you. I will say that a couple of people had asked questions, and if you're not looking into the chat, they'll make a recording of this presentation, after we finished up. So I don't know how long after, but you should be able, I think folks can go in and find all 5 of these wonderful sessions. I'm going to ask one more quick question, then we need to wrap it up, and I'm going to pass it back, I think, to Brian. But I had one last question here, which I'm not sure I even know that I'm asking it right, but it was a question about what platform do you use for determining an individual's career path alignment? So I guess, are you using tools and testing to identify a pathway?
Yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth, go ahead.
I'm sorry. We absolutely are, and my career coaches use multiple assessments. I could get the names of them, but they use diverse assessments. I'll also say that I had made reference to the fact that several regional workforce development partners are working together to try to standardize, make more consistent, and improve that which we're doing individually, kind of bring it together and see what we could do as a coalition. And career assessments, career coaching, we're working with Office of Community Wealth Building, United Way, a variety. I just can't, there's about 12 organizations that have brought their coaches together and said, you know, can we use some common instruments and a common kind of set of practices and see if we can get to improved results and maybe do some collaborative evaluation so we can define best practices and improve the practice we're all doing. And in doing that, we're also beginning to cross-refer students, job seekers, participants to the support services they need, to the training they need. It is working wonderfully under the leadership of a wonderful professional at United Way who's chairing that group. We need to do more of that in this region, and ChamberRVA is involved in that initiative as well.
Well, this is great. I'm going to have to wrap it up and toss it back, but I want to thank each of you. I could go on. I have a bunch more questions. I wanted to ask you about getting career coaches and just getting all lineups, but the key, which is always important to me, is partnerships, and look for good partnerships. So I'll be talking to all of you all some more. Thank you so much. This was fascinating and so enjoyable. And Brian, I will kick it back to you now.
Thank you, Mary. And you said the right thing in the sense this is just the start of the conversation. This entire series has created a lot more questions and answers, and that's what it's intended to do, and to create the dialogue that's needed to bring partners together. So thank you, Mary, for moderating a Q&A, and certainly Elizabeth and Ghislaine for the wonderful comments you brought to us. At this time, we want to hear from our silver sponsor, Facebook, and we have with us today Brian Houston, who serves the Data Center Site Manager for the Facebook Henrico Data Center. Brian?
So, Brian, I want to say thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to have a little quick talk and session here. And I have to say that it's been amazing listening to the conversation that's been going on for the past hour. It is definitely enlightening and definitely fantastic to hear about in different ways that we're helping out the community. With that, my name is Brian Houston. I'm the site manager at the Facebook Henrico Data Center. As many of you may have seen earlier this month, our data center is officially online and serving traffic for the Henrico area. What does that really mean? It means that we're bringing the Facebook's apps and services to billions of people across the globe right here from Henrico. Facebook is committed to creating a positive impact in the communities that host us, and we look forward to being an active neighbor now that the data center is fully operational. As we're investing in our long-term vitality in Henrico and its residents by partnering with the local communities and supporting organizations and initiatives that help us connect the community and increase the digital skills across the community. As part of some of our efforts and the COVID relief efforts this year, we have given a total of $830,000 to local schools, small business, and nonprofit organizations, including $375,000 in grants for small and medium businesses in the Richmond area, as well as $280,000 at the Henrico County Public Schools to help provide the much-needed hotspots for the students. These efforts were in partnership with the Chamber and Henrico Education Foundations, so we definitely are happy to lean in and help out as much as we can. One of the big announcements that we want to make sure that we put out to this team is next month, our Community Action Grants program will launch and will be open to organizations creating impact here in Henrico. This program supports short-term, high-impact projects that put the power of technology to use for the community benefit, connecting people online and off, and improve our STEM educations. These grants provide funding through schools and qualified organizations who just support innovative programs, including the strengthening of STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math educations. And we'll be announcing more into the grant applications in more detail on our Facebook page. So for anyone that needs it, it's facebook.com/Henrico Data Center. On top of that, while we're officially open and serving traffic, we have a significant amount of construction still going on. So we're still building, we're still growing. And what does that really mean? So once completed, this data center will represent an investment of over $1.5 billion in the community and support more than 200 jobs. In addition to the 200 operational jobs that it takes to run the data center, you're also looking at more than 1,000 jobs in construction to help build it out and run the infrastructure. We're always constantly looking for good talent, and talented people help us run the most effective operation we can. A diverse workforce is not only the right thing to do, but it also means to help us serve better and our users to give us a better understanding of the community and help us to build better products to help the world. Facebook understands that it reflects many different communities, backgrounds, and cultures. We value the diversity at all levels across the company and strongly believe that diverse perspectives create better products that promote diversity. And with that, I want to say thank you for your time and energy, and I greatly appreciate everything.
Brian, thank you. You all have made a significant difference from the moment you came here, and we look forward to a great partnership as we go forward. As all of us check Facebook, our own Facebook page is probably hourly these days, if not every 30 minutes. We know that you're going to need a lot more data and a lot more building, so keep up the good work. And thank you for being with us today. Overall, thanks to our panelists, not just today's session, Ghislaine and Elizabeth, but also the last 4 sessions, our panelists for those. This has been a dynamic conversation for the last 5 weeks, and it would not be possible without Dominion Energy as our presenting sponsor, Altria, Capital One, and Virginia 529 as our gold sponsor, and Facebook as our silver sponsor. This is just the start of a very important conversation, folks. We continue to help people not only get back to work, but get the jobs and the careers that they want to make sure they can take care of their families. Economic mobility needs to be for all. We're working hard with all of our partners to make sure that happens. Thanks for being with us, and we look forward to future conversations here on these types of programs and any others that we can participate as a joint partner. Thank you, and have a great day.